Okay, I'm back and we're still working on the DX9 setups. But what I need to do is figure out what are the sub trims necessary in the DX9. And those sub trims are really reflected as to where I left the radio, where the radio trims, DX4 radio trims are when I last flew it in the maiden flights. You saw that I said during the flight that this is a good hands-off position. And so you can see that up here the elevator is trim is nose down as much as it can go. The aileron trim is to the right some, and the rudder trim is to the right some. So now I need to reflect that in the DX9 radio. So in order to do that, I'm going to turn on the airplane and turn on the DX9, plug in the airplane, and we'll get that working. I noticed though, just before I started this video segment, when I set the airplane down, it was tilting a little bit because the two struts for the wheels, one was bent a little. And that could have been from the maiden flight, or it could have been that way all along. Don't know, don't recall. But if these get bent a little because of a hard landing or whatever, then straighten them out, because that'll help. Okay, so I'm going to turn on the radio, and it's up and running. I'm going to turn the airplane over, grab a battery. It's just one of the batteries I used yesterday for flying that has not been recharged yet. Okay. And try to turn it back over within 5 seconds. Ta-da! Okay. And so now what I'm going to do is make sure everything's working. Yep, things are working. Is using my iPad, take a photograph of each of the control surfaces. So I'm going to get around here, trying to get the rudder is almost dead neutral. The elevator, let's see if I can get down here to where the elevator is. There we go. The elevator is almost dead neutral, and then the right aileron is up a little, and then the left aileron is, let me get it around here like this. Right, aileron is just down slightly. Okay, so I've got photographic evidence of where that is with this DX4 radio trims in that position. So now I'm going to stop, bind it to the DX9, which has 0 sub trim at this point, and then we'll see how much sub trim we have to put in. I'll be back in a minute. Okay, the DX4 radio is off, and the mode switch is in the up position, which is normal mode, and the throttle is down, and everything else is good to go. So I'm going to do the bind procedure with the DX9. It's the same button here, and so I'm going to plug this in, and with the radio off, turn it over quickly within 5 seconds. Okay, notice the tail cocks out. That says it's in bind mode, I guess. I'm going to hold the bind button down, turn it on,
GSMX 22 milliseconds, normal mode. Telemetry, bind complete.
Gee, it actually said the word telemetry, but I don't see any telemetry settings, but that's okay. Okay, so it is now bound. I'm going to go ahead and go through the normal turn it off procedure, just because I like to, after binding. So I'm going to turn this off. I've already unplugged the battery. Okay. Now, when you hear me turn this on, you're going to hear a couple of things. It should give me the one warning that I'm in normal mode, and that's this speaking here, not this speaking. Okay, so that's in normal mode in the up position, but the switch report is going to say this one's in normal mode too, which is good. And this is down, so I'm going to turn this on. And we're okay. Alright, so that's bound. Now we're going to plug in the airplane. Five seconds. Okay. And I can see by the red light down there that it is on. Wiggle a few of the controls and they are on. And I'm going to face it like this so I can see it. And now I'm going to pull up the photographs. And I think I'll start with a rudder. Okay. I don't know if you can see that or not, but the looking at the rudder there, it is ever so slightly, the top of it is ever so slightly in this direction here, and that is more than it needs to be, so I'm going to put in some rudder sub trim, and I'm going to do that with something underneath the rudder here, like that, so that the tail wheel can move freely as I move the trim. So I'm going to go into servo setup. Okay, going to go to travel, click on it, and roll once to get to the sub trim menu. Okay, then I'm going to go over to the rudder, and this is too far, so I'm going to go this way to get to, let me look at my photograph again. Yep. So I've put in 57 let me let you see the sub trim here. So the rudder, oops, so you can see that the rudder sub trim there says right 57 units, whatever 57 units are, okay? And so that's where I'm going to move the rudder. Sometimes when you do that, it moves it ever so slightly. Yeah, I'm going to move that back to maybe 50. Let's try some more here. Yeah. Okay, that's at 45, so I'm going to have the rudder at 45, and that sort of matches my photograph there. So that was good. Next will be the elevator. Okay, so I'll pull up my elevator photograph. So there's my elevator photograph. And that elevator photograph shows that it's just down ever so slightly. And I mean ever so slightly. It is down just a hair. So right now the elevator shows that it's down quite a bit. You can see that. So that's down quite a bit. And so I'm going to use the elevator nose. Oops. I'm using the elevator trim. I should be using the sub trim. Alright, so let me click on the sub trim here. And that looks to be about 75. So the elevator sub trim is down 75. Okay. And then the aileron, let me see if that looks right according to my picture, and it does. And so the last one is the aileron. And notice here, if you can see the photograph, that aileron is up just ever so much, that much. So I'm going to use aileron sub trim to move that aileron up a little. And that looks like it's supposed to be to the right. And okay, we'll try that. So now you can see that that is up ever so slightly, and that sort of matches what I see on my photograph. And so those are the sub trims, and I'm gonna back out of that. And so out here you see my trims are all at 0. And the sub trims have made it where I last flew it at straight level. Now, this is a progressive system. It's not an absolute. And certainly, as I get more flying time on the DX9 radio, I might adjust those sub trims around a little bit. But we'll see. That's probably pretty close. Okay, so that's the sub trim, and I'm going to unplug the radio. I'm sorry, unplug the airplane first. Okay, and turn off the radio. Okay, and so that's it for the sub trim, and I'll be right back with the next item.